And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewn across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Plz. It begins now.
Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to the Kex Man is Terrible show here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. The date today is the 1st of May, 2009. It is 8 p.m. in the British Isles. It is 3 p.m. EST, it is 2100 server time, and it is other times in other places. And you are listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. What have we got coming up for you in the show today? An absolute metric ton. So many things. Seriously, we've got tons of stuff to go through. We'll be talking about a scandal. Yes, we found a scandal. I like finding scandals. Scandals are great content. I call it Pegglegate, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. Also, The Legacy will be coming on the show a little bit later on to talk about the end game, Algalol, Ulduar, and all manner of cool different things. Very cool interview coming up a little bit later on in the show. Also, why Blizzard should stop ruining their own goddamn raid instance. The nerfs. We are drowning in them. Coming up a little bit later on in the show. And of course, the chance for you to contribute. It's the illusion of choice! Shattering your illusions of choice here on the show. You can email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. With a proposed topic for the end of the show. And if it's good enough, I might choose it. Give you the illusion of choice. Oh yeah, so much stuff to get on with. I've got the mailbag coming up in just a second, but first I have two plugs. Yes, two plugs, not one, but two. The first plug is this. You've been here in the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about a guy by the name of Nick Hugett who does the Swag Show, which is a great video game, sort of video podcast that goes on YouTube. Well, him and a bunch of other independent reviewers have actually released a DVD, which seems to be pretty awesome, and it's called the Renegade Reviewers, and it's just out today. I think it's out today, or maybe in a couple of days, whatever. You can go to www.renegadereviewers.com/storepage.html. That's renegadereviewers.com/storepage.html to buy this DVD. And indeed, I'm going to do so. I'm going to buy this thing, because it looks pretty awesome. It's got a whole bunch of really cool things going on with it. And it's nice to see that kind of thing come out on DVD, and hopefully, it should be pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to check that out. It's $9.99. And the other plug is, there's a charity auction going on. Now, this guy actually snubbed us, yeah? Bad man. Horrible man, forgetting to ask us to donate a prize. But there is a charity auction going on, and it's going on the site brigwyn.com. That's BRIGWYN.com. I believe it's the Hunter's Cabin or something like that website. I'm not too familiar with it. But it's for Child's Play, and they've got a bunch of prizes, including your opportunity to buy a guest slot on the WoW Insider Show. Maybe I should drop a couple of $100 on it and remind them how to do a radio show. Stop it, TotalBiscuit. Bad TotalBiscuit. Stop being a complete PR disaster. We know they're terrible. They just have to live with it. Right. What do we got? Well, I'll tell you what I've got. I have this. Mail time.
That sounds like it's mail time. Here's the mail.
It never fails.
It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes,
I want to wail.
It's mail time! It's the time when we look in the bag to see what's in the mail, and some of the stuff's cool, and some of it's not. And some of it's really long, like this one, and I'm going to try and paraphrase it. I could do the rest of the show like that, but I think it would be really annoying. This one actually comes from a Curse.com moderator by the name of Indelible. He also plays a level 77 priest on Bronzebeard EU called Aquavilla. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's a bit weird. Anyway, it's a really long email about Curse, and I want to paraphrase it because it'll be a nice introduction to Pegglegate that we'll be talking about a little bit later on in the show. And he's basically saying, TotalBiscuit, I'm a moderator of Curse. And he's basically talking in this email about the debate between with WoWMatrix and Curse that you might have heard a couple of weeks back on WoW Things Considered. And we'll be going more in depth into this later on in the show, but basically he's got a couple of things to say about the Curse website, and I think it needs, as a fellow fan site, it's important that we kind of put this out there. And he says, when Curse launched, it was a simple add-on site that distributed add-ons to users through a simple web portal. Over the years, it has evolved and is now one of the premier MMO networks in the world. That's right, I said MMO networks. People seem to be under the deluded and ignorant opinion that Curse.com is just Curse.com and nothing more. I'm sure you're well aware of World of Raids, a site that has been at the heart of the raiding community since its inception. It is owned and operated by Curse. I'm also going to assume that most of your listeners have heard of and visited Arena Junkies, a site that has also been at the core of the arena scene, and is also, again, owned and maintained by Curse. Also WowDB and WowAce, all Curse owned and maintained. And he says, I'm not going to give detailed descriptions of each site that's in the Curse network, but I will list them in the hopes that it brings some more understanding to the table. I would like to point out that the following list outlines the main sites in the Curse network, and there are more sites upcoming. And it's a bunch of different sites here. And what he's trying to say basically boils down to this, and I'm paraphrasing this huge email. I'll post it on the forums later so you can have a good read of it. He's trying to say, well, Curse aren't just offering some add-ons for an MMO here. They happen to be maintaining some of the top community sites in gaming, ensuring that their continued survival in the current economic climate is assured. They are supporting the community of not just one MMO here, they're supporting the communities of a number of different games spanning millions of users. 90%, for want of pulling an entirely made-up statistic out of my arse, of the services Curse are offering are entirely free, except for the premium service that they're offering through the Curse client. I just want to point out this so people know just how much Curse are doing beyond add-ons. I'm sure any people will reassess their opinions of Curse if they knew just how much they are being provided at no cost to the users. And that's a nice introduction to what we'll be talking about a little bit later on. And I think it is important, certainly, to note that fan sites provide so much to this community at cost to themselves. I mean, good lord, huge amount of cost. I know that. I run a big site. A big site that's pretty bandwidth intensive, nowhere near as much as Curse. Good lord, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine because I've got some nice statistics to share with you later in the show. But yeah, later we'll be talking about Curse versus WoWMatrix. Some of you may be aware that the WoWMatrix client was blocked by Curse, and there's been a bunch of drama surrounding that. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. Anyway, I've got some more mail to go, so let's have a quick look at this. Got one here from Tylenol Jones from Duskwood, US, and he says this: Hey TotalBiscuit, I was just curious as to your opinion on the Martin Fury issue that occurred. Basically, my opinion on the situation, I've just got to explain this briefly before people actually, listen to this mail, because maybe they don't know. Basically what happened is, this guild got accidentally sent the Martin Fury weapon in the mail, which is a GM-only weapon that kills everything within a 30-yard radius, yeah? Obviously something that they were not supposed to have. Anyway, here we go. Basically, my opinion on the situation is that both parts were at fault. Both parties, even. And to permaban the guy seems Blizzard's way of trying to put the blame completely off of themselves. Yes, the guy who used this weapon did get permabanned. In truth, what the guy did was wrong, but what he did wasn't truly game-breaking and could easily have been fixed. Should he have been banned? Yes. Should he have been permabanned? No. In truth, the majority of the fault lies with Blizzard. They should have long ago removed this item from the game, or made it so that a mistake like this could not easily have occurred. There is zero reason for this item to exist at all anymore, as we all know GMs do not show up in-game anymore to help with anything that needs killing. What do you think? What would you have done if you gotten the item in the mail? Right. I completely side with Blizzard on this one for permabanning this guy, because he's basically exploiting, right? He's knowingly taken something which he blatantly should not have had. Yeah, it's obvious that he shouldn't have had this. It's like, oh, I accidentally got sent a GM-only weapon that kills everything within a 35-yard radius. What am I going to do with it? Well, The sensible thing would be to mail the GM and said, yeah, I have this. Help, what should I do with it? Not, oh, let's go one-shot everything in Ulduar with our guild and take all the achievements and the epics and the loot and then cry when we get permabanned. I mean, good lord, what the hell do you expect to happen? I can't figure this one out. People in this day and age seem to believe that if something is there and for the taking, they should just have it. Yeah? It's like, oh, it was there, it was their mistake, so I should exploit that. Yeah, this is not EVE Online. I'm sorry, EVE Online, you know, a game that encourages and promotes scamming and all manner of different kinds of warfare and deception. This ain't it. Yeah? It's the same difference, right? I can scam anyone I like in-game. What will happen if I do that? If I scam someone in-game, I will get banned. And it doesn't matter if it was through their own ignorance. I will get banned for it, right? If you get sent this ridiculously powerful thing in the mail, why the heck do you go and do that? I mean, good lord. It's not like you just said, oh, I'll go try it on, like, Malygos or whatever, and then just leave it. No, we're going to one-shot everything in Ulduar and take all of the loot and get all of the achievements. It's like, if being able to kill everything within a 35-yard radius by clicking a button is not game-breaking, then I don't know what is. I mean, good lord. I can't understand why anyone would go out of their way to do that. And the fact that WoW Insider decided to blinking interview these guys, I mean, good lord. What are you doing? Interviewing guys that get banned now? That's very easy. I'll go in-game, and I'll go report a bunch of people, get them banned, and then bring them onto the show. How's that? How's that for some publicity? Why give these people airtime? They're bloody morons. Obviously idiots. It's the same people that felt sympathy for the guys that found a way to get past the Gathun trash, and when they went and did it and got banned, they whined on the forums, and people are like, oh, well, they found a way to do it, they shouldn't get banned because it's in the game. There's a lot of things that are in the game that you're not supposed to do. That's why you have rules. And you should be using some common sense. Yeah, I know Gathun trash sucked, but it was no excuse to exploit the game. The same with this. I mean, this is even more obvious. I mean, there's not even a good reason to use this thing beyond, oh, let's go and screw around. Ugh. I can't figure it out. Honestly. I cannot figure it out at all. I don't know why this would happen. Yeah, so that's the issue in a nutshell for me. Got one more email before I go to the break, and it is from Cuba, a level 80 rogue on Tauren Mail EU, and he says this: I was wanting to know what you think about the further nerfs to Ulduar and Ebelon the Stonewatcher. I know you've already said the previous nerfs weren't necessary, but do you think that Blizzard are going too far now? You've applauded Blizzard for ensuring that new VOA boss isn't a walkover, but now they've gone and nerfed the hit points from the ads, making it more than achievable with the average pug group. Are they crumbling underneath the pressure of wine? I know they've always nerfed raiding content in the past, a few weeks after release, but the content they are adjusting at the moment isn't bugged or impossible, and certainly nowhere near as difficult. Have we reached a time in WoW's life where we'll just have to get used to it, or is there hope for a real return of the times where only the elite guilds on each realm could clear an instance in the first few months? I'm gonna cover this in some detail a little bit later, but to be honest, it's mostly gonna be about Ulduar as opposed to Emelon. Right, VOA was never a good idea. Just bear this in mind, VOA was a terrible idea. And yes, there was some redemption in bringing in a boss that required you to do something that didn't involve face rolling. Unfortunately, yes, they have decided to nerf it. Have they caved under wine? I don't know. I don't know, because it's like Ghostcrawler claims that we don't change things on the basis of players whining on the forums. Well, to be honest, you're going to have to demonstrate that that's the case. Because just saying it, it's, you know, your actions and your words aren't matching up. You nerfed a completely killable boss. A boss that gives tier 8.5 and Furious Gladiators gear. Yeah? Top tier PvP gear. We're not just talking little bits, we're talking like the big bits. The chest piece, the shoulders. Is it the shoulders? I can't remember. The chest piece, it's the legs and something else, whatever. I just can't fathom why they do that. Nerfing it doesn't make any sense. It's already killable. Why do you think that people should be able to get that loot so easily? For God's sake, you gotta go kill Freya and stuff in Ulduar to get that kind of loot. And that's not easy, by any stretch. It's just totally unnecessary. Because it wasn't even a hard encounter to begin with. It's like, I'm sorry, if you don't have enough DPS to kill those ads, then you have no place wearing tier 8.5. At all. It's not that difficult. You just have to actually be on the ball. You know, and I'm sorry that a few people couldn't get their free tier 8.5 this week because the boss was too hard. But to be honest, I got zero sympathy for you. Really. And I can't understand why Blizzard would be doing stuff like this. Anyway, there's going to be a lot more on this and later on in the show when we talk about the Ulduar nerfs. After the break, we'll be discussing Pegglegate, the scandal with the UI add-on development policy, as well as numerous things involving the Curse Premium client and the iPhone cease and desist development. It's a bit crazy. All manner of crazy copyright stuff and terms of service infringement going down after the break here on WoW Radio. My name is TotalBiscuit, and you're listening to Blue Plz. I'll be right back after this, folks. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuning in to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. Okay, time for some more ranting. This entire show is pretty much ranting, except for the interview that we've got coming up later on. But first, a quick congratulations have to go out to, of course, the one and only Insidia, who just managed to kill the Mimmer on hard mode. Yes, they did. And they get something like this. Enough of that. Thank you very much. So, yes, well done to Insidia for that. Very, very good indeed. Now, oh dear. You might remember a few weeks ago that we went on a bit of a cavalcade of pain and suffering regarding the World of Warcraft UI add-on development policy. And, you know, as someone who is a law graduate, I decried many things about it, including the fact that the guy who drafted it was obviously a 5-year-old chimp. I mean, this is terrible. There's so much doublespeak in this entire thing. It's a disgrace. You can't define anything. Now, some of you may also be aware, and this is going to be a big round topic. Trust me, I will get to my point by the end of these 15 minutes. You'll think it's a little bit random, but it all coalesces at the last minute. It's like the plot of a conspiracy thriller, like State of Play, which is actually quite a good movie, and you should go see it. Now, recently an add-on by PopCap Games came out. And PopCap, of course, you may know, the kings of casual, as it were. They brought out many games, including Peggle, and they actually brought out a Peggle mod, which is great fun. It's a wonderful add-on. Big fan of that. It's got all sorts of amazing things involved in it. Now, it came out, and the first thing that I thought is like, I have the feeling that this, in some way, is going to breach the add-on policy. Yeah? At this point in the show, I was randomly disconnected for no apparent reason. Oh wait, there is an apparent reason. Some idiot cut through the fibre optic backbone. Oh dear. Let me tell you a quick story before we go on, assuming that I can actually keep my internet connection up. A few days ago, some jackass, and I do mean jackass, they're building an extension to something called the Tyne Tunnel, right, which goes under a river called the Tyne, somewhere around Newcastle, right? And they cut through the main fibre optic cable, which supplies the internet and phone for basically the entire area, like with a 35-mile radius. And since then, it's been dodgy as hell. And now it's gone down again. So hopefully, it's going to stay up. If it doesn't, what will happen is the show will end up being rescheduled for Tuesday. Yeah, it'll be a Tuesday assault, and hopefully everything will be back up and running. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about this thing, right? So, the Peggle add-on, right? And I assume you all heard that before I unceremoniously dropped off of the internet. The Peggle add-on. Great fun. And I thought, maybe it contravenes some policies or whatever. So, you know, because I hate this thing. I think this thing is absolutely horrible. The UI development policy is like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life as regards to utterly terrible, draconian, arbitrary rubbish. Now, I had a look at the Peggle add-on, and I had an add-on developer also have a look at the Peggle add-on. Yeah? And the first I asked him, is the code obfuscated or otherwise hidden or closed in any way, shape or form? And his answer was yes, it's not fully obfuscated by any stretch of the imagination, but it is partially obfuscated. Yeah? And that is against Provision 2 of the UI add-on development policy, which says that the add-on code must be completely visible and in no way hidden or obfuscated. And it is partially obfuscated. So that's a bit of a problem. But that's not the biggest thing. Because also, in the Peggle add-on, there is a direct link. If you go onto your Peggle add-on, you will see, in the About section, there's a direct link to check out our other games at www.popcap.com. Now, last time I checked, popcap.com did not give out free games. Indeed, they are a commercial development company. And that was not a link to the add-ons, that was a link to the page with the buying. Which, of course, contravenes Provision 4 of the add-on development policy, which clearly states add-ons may not be used to advertise any goods or services. And add-ons may not include any advertisements. Indeed. Now, let me get this out here from the start, right? I don't hate PopCap. I think PopCap are brilliant. I pre-ordered my copy of Plants vs. Zombies, and I am absolutely looking forward to it. And I'm definitely looking forward to the time when they release the add-on Scourge vs. Zombies. And hang on a minute, that's not the right way around. Plants vs. Scourge. Yes, that would be awesome. I would be a massive fan of that. Actually, it could be Herbs vs. Scourge. It's like build a Peace Bloom cannon. It'd be the best thing ever. So yeah, I'm a big fan of PopCap, right? What I'm not a fan of is double standards. And here's some double standards for you, right? This add-on was promoted on the front page of WorldOfWarcraft.com when it clearly contravenes provisions 2 and 4 of the add-on development policy. Now, what am I saying here? Should I say that the add-on should be removed? Absolutely not. What I'm saying here is that Blizzard needs to get its bloody head together and say, hey, we have a set of standards and we're going to apply them universally. We're not just going to apply them when and if we feel like it. Because you know what? No add-on developer should feel obliged, in any respect, to pay attention to this add-on development policy when Blizzard are clearly turning a blind eye to one that violates 2 of those provisions. Yeah? And that's one of the major ones as well. It may not include advertising. That's one of the big ones. You know, it's way up there with pay for this add-on in the terms of things which will get you burned in Blizzard hell. So yeah, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of that at all. Not in any respect. So what it says to me is, well, what exactly are Blizzard playing at? Because this is not the only thing which has been going on this week. There's been a couple of other things. Another thing that's been happening is that Blizzard has sent cease and desist orders to a bunch of iPhone developers who have developed various add-ons that do stuff with the Armory, yeah? And some of them you have to pay a small fee for, and some of them are free. They see indeed all of them, right? Cease and desist. Now, as you know, cease and desist isn't legally binding, but it is basically a threat. It's like, do this, or we will spank you with a lawsuit. It's horrible. You know, getting a C&D is really nasty. It's unpleasant. I've had to send a few myself. It's not a very nice thing to do. So, to me, this is yet another example of Blizzard being overbearing with their intellectual property. Yeah? Now, we've seen that add-ons can do all manner of different things that Blizzard may not have even thought about. And so can iPhone apps and stuff like that, and they can offer utility. Now, there has been a comparison, and this is why some people have argued that it was okay to take the iPhone apps down, between that and another recent issue. And that recent issue has been simply this. The Curse and WoWMatrix issue. Now, those of you who are not aware, WoWMatrix is a client which can be used to download and update from various different sites, yeah, add-ons. Now, recently, Curse and I believe WoW Interface as well created code within their websites to stop WoW Interface from working with their sites. Now, of course, there was some outcry from the noobs and the scrubs who cried, it's a monopoly, yeah. There's actually a thread on this issue on the World of Warcraft EU forums, which is a total disgrace. It's absolutely horrendous. Of course, not realising that the WoWMatrix client does nothing more than leech bandwidth from sites that are already incredibly expensive to run to begin with. And indeed, if you don't believe me, then I managed to get some stats. I talked to one of the guys who works over at Curse, and he gave me some interesting statistics. He told me this. On patch day, you want to know how much throughput they push? Like, throughput is how much you're pushing through at any given time through a pipe, yeah? Pipe, of course, being internet connection. 4 gigabits a second. 4 gigabits! I mean, that's nuts. Have you any idea, like, how massive that is in comparison to everything? I mean, just to give you an idea, WoW Radio's server can output 100 megabits. Yeah, that's WoW Radio's download server. Our streaming server can output a lot more than that, but we have 32 separate boxes for streaming. Now consider the ludicrous amount of bandwidth that is. Yeah, and on a normal day, apparently on a quiet day, they're pushing through about 400 to 500 megabits per second. And on average, to the amount of bandwidth, they couldn't even count how much bandwidth they use. But there was an estimate of between about, 500 terabytes and maybe a petabyte of information. It's difficult to track that much, but good lord. You want to know how much that costs? Well, I can tell you. On a normal month, not including patch days, it costs a five-figure sum. And my source from Curse claimed that 3.1 will probably cost them in the region of a six-figure. 6 figures! Yeah? That's real money, folks. We're not talking gold here, we're not talking moon dollars, this is real money. Spent to give you guys a load of add-ons. Now, are you telling me seriously that a site like that shouldn't be able to recoup as much money as humanly possible through advertising? Eh? And where are they not getting their advertising? Well, it's quite obvious. WoWMatrix. Using that client bypasses the advertising. We run a relatively high bandwidth site, nowhere near as high bandwidth as that. But you know what? If we had people that did nothing more than skip all the adverts on our streams and ad block everything that we had, on our website, we would be in serious trouble because we wouldn't be able to support the station. It would shut down. Curse are the same way, but Curse are enormous. And you say, oh, well, Curse isn't required to do anything. Oh, no. Well, yeah, that's true. Of course, there are other alternatives. Are there any that's more convenient and more reliable and have a bigger selection of add-ons? No, not even the slightest. Curse is the source. There is a reason why everyone goes there, because it's good. That's why it got so popular, because it is good. That's what generally happens when you put out a good product. And yes, I did just say a product and a service. And here's the thing, and this links in nicely with the add-on policy, that a bunch of people on the forums were also complaining that Curse themselves breached the add-on policy, Provision 1, which is actually kind of like a sort of meh, maybe they did, maybe they didn't kind of thing. Because, of course, Provision 1 of the add-on policy is really badly written, like the rest of the add-on policy. It specifically says this, yeah? Developers may not create premium versions of add-ons, okay, Curse didn't do that, with additional pay-for features. Charge money to download an add-on, charge for services related to an add-on, or otherwise require some form of monetary compensation to download or access an add-on. Now that is a grey area, yeah, because that is really badly phrased. And I did contract law in the first year of university, and there was no way that anything would get away with phrasing that badly. It's too ambiguous. There's 50 different ways to interpret it. And of course a bunch of people were whining and complaining, and it all comes down to that. So, on the WoWMatrix Curse issue, and on the issue of Curse providing a premium client, I say, why the hell shouldn't they? For what possible reason shouldn't they? Ad revenue over the last 12 months, due to the economic meltdown, has decreased 300%. Yeah? It has dropped a huge amount. Absolutely insane amount. Because it's not actually 300%, it's just an awful lot. Because 300% would be impossible. It's insane how much the ad revenue has actually dropped. So, why on earth shouldn't they be able to run a business based around WoW? Why shouldn't anyone be able to run a business based around WoW? Hey, is it just the select few that get Blizzard's stamp of approval? Hell no. Yes, WoW is a product, and yes, the intellectual property belongs to Blizzard Entertainment. But as with all good products, things that surround it, services, third-party add-ons, these come about. That is representative of a good product, and indeed companies should be encouraging that, not stamping on it. How good would the iPod be if you couldn't buy third-party stuff for it? What about all of those accessories? All sorts of things. Massive numbers of different products have all of these things surrounding them. Do those companies suddenly go around and say, oh, well, here's the policy. Sorry, you can't develop this for this, and if you do, we'll sue you into the ground. And what's worse, do those companies have a community of people willing to white knight their dumbass decisions? I bet they don't. Blizzard is pretty much unique in that respect. We've got people claiming, oh, well, I hope Curse gets shut down. No, you don't. Why the hell would you hope that Curse gets shut down? Why the hell would you hope that any fan site gets shut down? These guys provide a service to the community. Yeah, they now have a premium client, which you pay a pitiful sum to use. I mean, God's sake, if you buy an annual subscription, it's like $2 a month. $2. I can't even get a sandwich for that. It's just insane how cheap it is. And if you're going to condemn then, well, why don't you go and condemn File Planet? Because File Planet do exactly the same thing. Do you think File Planet gets sued by people saying, oh, you are providing and making money off of hosting our stuff, let's sue you? Oh, wait, that doesn't actually happen, does it? Because that would be totally unreasonable. They're charging for a service, an optional service, I might add. There is a free version of the service. You can download whatever the heck you want. And what am I getting to here? You might wonder what all of this is about. Well, this is what it's about. It's about Blizzard having double standards and getting away with it because its community is too stupid to work out when it's being conned. Seriously, the forums are full of people that just want to be right no matter what. They want to tear people down to their level because they are nobody. They are nobody at all. They're just another face in the crowd. They're just another player in the game. The average run-of-the-mill Joe who has nothing, absolutely nothing to share with the world. Nothing of any value to contribute to the community. It happens all the time. You see it happen in all walks of life. It is pathetic. And in WoW, there is no exception. The fact of the matter is, you cannot let Blizzard get away with this kind of thing because a company will push its boundaries as far as it is. I like Blizzard. Of course I like Blizzard. I'm doing radio shows about Blizzard. I've spent the last 4 years of my life doing that. Why don't hate Blizzard? But I also know they're a company that now has shareholders thanks to their merger with Activision, and they will trample on your rights if they get the opportunity to do so. And the problem is the community lets them. Because the community is too interested in being at each other's throats than actually forming a unified front and saying enough is enough. We support the guys who help our community. We support the sites that allow us to download add-ons. We might even pay for the premium service because it's a good service. We don't try and tear them down. We don't try and report them to Blizzard. We don't egg Blizzard on and say, sue them, sue them, sue them. It's like a gladiatorial arena combat of the guys that used to turn up to hangings. It's pathetic. I literally have never seen anything like it. It is a cesspit of a horrible, horrible community we have going on here. And it's got to be stamped out. Seriously, and it is your job to do that kind of thing. You are a member of this community, whether you like it or not, and if you post on the forums or are involved in any kind of community whatsoever, WoW Radios or anyone else's, it is your duty to sit down and type this stuff out, and say, hey, this is ridiculous. See the double standards. You let Peggle do this and you don't let the other guys do it? Did they slip you a few coins under the table? Little brown envelope, was that what happened? Make Blizzard accountable because you pay their wages, and as cliched as it sounds, you pay the subscription fee that allows the game to exist, and there is a certain amount of accountability involved in that. You should be supporting your fellow members within the community because they would not hesitate to bend over backwards to support you, and have done so for the past 4 years. And I can only thank them for that. Thank Curse, thank the add-on developers, thank every bloody fan site in the WoW community and anyone that ever contributes, because Lord knows the vast majority do not, and they are beacons of light in a cesspit of failure. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I'll be right back after this with the one and only Legacy interview with a guy whose connection is actually even worse than mine. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. And as promised, part of our Evenings with Uberguilds month that we've got going on here, I've got a very special guest in the studio today. He is part of the guild Legacy, who are top 10 in the world, I believe, at this point in time, and happen to be from my home server of Mazrago, clearly the best server. His name is Agaroth, and he joins me in the studio today. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I'm great. I'm really grateful to be here.
Excellent. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role in the guild?
Well, I play as a protection warrior now, and personally I'm officer of the Legacy also. That means I'm basically second in command. And I used to play a Holy Priest back in Vanilla, but re-rolled warrior during TBC to find a new challenge, so to say. And yeah, here I am.
Excellent. Now, tell us a little bit about the history of the guild, because as I recall correctly, this is going back a little while now, a couple of years at least, that you weren't initially called the Legacy.
Yeah, we used to play under the name of Massive on Stormreaver originally, and migrated during the first wave of migration to Mazergos due to heavy lags. And then later on, during Ankarai, we changed guild name and also the guild structure, so to say, during Ankarai to the Legacy, where basically the guild leadership was changed a bit, but the guild as in itself, with the members, stayed to most of its extent.
Indeed. Now, you are actually top 10 in the world at the moment, is that correct?
Yes, I think Progress lists us as rank 3, but they only list after Yoxeron kills right now, and we had a pretty good kill there. So, if you look at achievements, we're probably somewhere in the top 10, yes. Excellent.
Now, Yoxeron, how long exactly did you spend taking that particular encounter down?
I think we started on 2 p.m. and ended at 4 a.m., so that would be 14 hours.
14 hours
if
straight.
my math doesn't fail me.
Yep, that sounds about right. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Now, as I recall, you weren't able to test Yoxeron on the PTR. I would assume that you went onto the PTR to test the rest of the encounters in Ulduar.
Yeah, that's right, of course.
Indeed. So what did you think of Yoxeron in general? I mean, it's obviously... You've been through all of the big kills since Vanilla WoW, and you've experienced the cock blocks, you've experienced the bugs, and did you have any particular concerns going into this fight that Blizzard wouldn't be able to pull off the internal testing?
No, we were kind of sure that the boss was definitely doable, at least on normal mode. We were actually discussing if we should try it on hard mode straight from the start. But seeing Insidia kill it basically one day, I think, before us, we were pretty sure that they made sure that hard mode is absolutely not possible right now. So we didn't really take many concerns, just going normal mode straight from the start. And so sort of just looked at it as a challenging fight, and that it was, sort of, at least for the first time. It was really, really, really well done. So Blizzard does obviously have some internal testing that can pull off good things, but it's a shame that they have to push so much on PTR to take away the experience of doing something first time on live.
Yeah, that's entirely understandable. Now, how would you say that Yoxeron compared to previous big kill, end of instance bosses?
That's an interesting question, because it's always a big thing kind of to kill the last boss of an instance, and Yoxeron was no exception here, definitely. If you look back on the end bosses of the of World of Warcraft, you surely could see the straight comparison to Cthulhu. So you had a lot of things that were very similar with Phase 2, especially with the tentacles spawning everywhere around. So it wasn't like from the looks of it didn't really feel all that new, but it was, of course, very challenging to find out every aspect of the fight, so to say, because there was absolutely no strategy out or whatsoever. So that was really, really fun, for sure.
Indeed. Now, difficulty-wise, you've obviously gone through and killed pretty much everything. Did you actually kill, this is just a side point, did you kill pre-nerf Muru, by any chance?
That depends what you count as pre-nerf. We didn't kill the very first version where the sparking thing kind of pushed back spells. We didn't manage that, where we killed the version after that.
The version after that, yeah, of course. So, difficulty-wise with Yoxeron, how does it compare, I'd say specifically to stuff in TBC, stuff like Kill Jaden, stuff like Muru, how would you say that it compares?
I think Yoxeron normal mode is a lot easier than most of the stuff in Sunwell, at least. But that is mainly because hard mode is available, and just looking at what you will need to bring to make up for what you lose from having the Watchers help you in the fight, it's going to be really, really tough to actually pull it off, and I'm really looking forward to try it.
So what is your opinion overall of the easy and hard mode strategy that Blizzard has put into play now?
I think it's worth. They're trying, but I don't think it's really good how they're doing it. Especially if you look at that you can basically shoot at the hard modes right away and don't have to kill the normal modes. I think that's really, really bad design, because Well, you have to decide as a guild, and especially in the first week. I don't know how many hours of discussions I had with our guild master with that, how we should try to clear the instance. If we should just rush through everything, or do some normal modes before, or some hard modes here and some normal modes there, or medium modes there, and whatnot to improve the loot. And that costs so much time also during the actual raid, because you have to see like especially on council, I think we tried the hard mode for some time and sort of wasted 2 hours there, I think, on the first night, because we just thought we couldn't maybe make it, but we didn't after all, so we had to kill it normal mode.
Indeed. Now, with your experience of some of the hard modes so far, would you say that it's weighed more towards the technical side of raiding, or towards simple gear checks, or is it a mixture of the two?
That is the really sad part of what I've seen from Hardmode's Ulduar so far. It's mainly, it doesn't add anything to the actual strategy you need to pull off for the fight. It's just a lot more rate damage flying around, or a lot of rate stacking requirements. Like if you look at Freya, it's basically just rate damage everywhere, instead of it's exactly the same strategy, more or less. It's just a lot more rate damage flying around everywhere, pressuring the healers, pressuring the DPS. It's just you need to perform. It's a performance check, I'd say. It's not a tactical or strategy check so far at all, and that's kind of sad. Especially like Hodir, for example. That's like the pinnacle of rate stacking requirements. You can bring like 2 healers tops and 1 tank, and rest is full DPS, and you still pretty much won't make it, right, as it is right now. If you look at the Insidia kill from Thursday, I think it was they had to use the buff from the trash mobs and barely made it. So I don't think it's really possible right now.
Indeed. Now, there were complaints, particularly from some of the endgame guilds around the time of Sunwell Plateau, that raid stacking was excessive. Specifically in the first couple of fights, I think Brutalis, if I remember correctly. I sadly did not get the opportunity to go in there, but I heard that Brutalis was very silly with regards to stacking. Now, Blizzard then went and said that they were not interested in creating another instance like that, and they didn't want another stacking sort of situation, and yet it seems to me that they have gone and done that anyway with the hard modes. Now, do you think that Blizzard perhaps have the idea that this is the kind of thing that hardcore guilds are aiming for? And if so, what would you say to them that hardcore guilds really want out of raiding, as opposed to merely a bunch of stack fights?
Well, I think Blizzard can't really do anything about it. They need to base it around raid stacking, because it's simply what will happen. Top guilds will stack the raids to optimize the performance of the actual raid, because it helps on every encounter, basically. And what happened in TBC was that Warlocks were just the top DPS, and you want to bring as many of them as possible, and you had Rest of Shamans, who were just the top healers for almost every fight. And I think they did a decent job, at least, to balance that out now, but they will have to balance the hard modes around it. There is no way around it, more or less. It's just how much you will need to stack. Like I said on Hodir, you can bring 2 healers. That's just ridiculously low, because you're asked to have 22 DPSers ready to go there, and preferably of the right classes. That's just a bit too much, I think.
Yeah, I'd say that's excessive. Now, Algernon, or Algalol, as I like to call him, because I never pronounce that guy's name correctly. He can only, of course, be attempted for 1 hour per week. Now, what was your initial reaction as second in command of the Legacy when you heard that?
My initial reaction was basically, oh, that's a nice cockblock. Because basically they've done the same, if I remember correctly, to Velestras and Nefarian in Black Lair.
Yeah,
and they changed it to 1 hour per day, so you could soft reset it pretty early on, later on. And I think I'm decently sure that they will do the same thing here. They will wait for the top guilds to sort of reach him and let stay like this for a few weeks, so they only have 1 hour and get somewhat of an idea of the encounter, and then change it to one hour per day, because 1 hour per week is, even if you have killed the boss already, is quite close. If you like screw up, or something happens and you have to take a break or something, and you just lose the encounter for the entire week, that's quite punishing, I think. And they will have to change it, I think.
Indeed. Now, what would you say as regards to the fact that they seem to be very actively dabbling in hotfix tuning at the moment? I mean, they have nerfed a lot of the normal modes multiple times already, and they are buffing the hard modes in many different places, and they have actually buffed, I believe, in the PTR, Algalol is getting buffed again. His Cosmic Smash is doing more damage, and a couple of other things are being changed. Do you think that Blizzard really should be dabbling in such kind of real-time tuning and sort of moving the goalposts when guilds are actually trying to kill the boss?
Well, I think it wouldn't matter that much if guilds wouldn't have killed some of the bosses already. Like, Thorim and Freya have, or Hodia as well, have been killed by some guilds, and some guilds have been only trying and haven't succeeded yet, and then they buff it after. So, basically, those guilds that already killed it have an advantage over those that haven't, because they will reach Algalon sooner, and especially if you look at Hodia right now, I don't think we can manage to bring it down in its current form. And that's quite annoying, if I have to admit, because we just have that sort of block in front of us that won't allow us to reach Algalon, while certain other guilds that had 2 minutes and 30 seconds time instead on Hodir, I think was first version, will be able to test him while we're kind of stuck on him if they don't change it soon.
Get a shot at him, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's understandable. It does seem a little bit odd that they do that. Now, obviously, you're talking from the perspective of a hardcore endgame raider. There are a lot of guilds on our server as well. You know, there's many guilds that are sort of cracking their way through Ulduar and normal modes and doing relatively well. You know, they're certainly not scrubs by any stretch, but they're not the creme de la creme. And they've been, Blizzard have been nerfing the normal modes quite hard and then buffing the hard modes in some cases quite severely, particularly with XT002 now apparently regenerates 150% health, and that's actually part of the PTR, which is way up there from the 40% that he regenerated earlier. Now, if you were in a guild like that, and you were seeing the gap get wider and wider on a weekly basis, do you think that that would affect your morale and your willingness to raid in any way?
I'm not really sure. It's really weird with how they're changing the encounters so rapidly all the time and making them like easier and easier, the normal modes at least. It sure would. I don't know. It depends on what people really want from the game. If they want a challenge or if they just want epics, and that's quite the design issue that Blizzard has right now with catering to casual thing that they want to do, but basically they're just making it too easy. They don't put challenges for skilled people in there. They're just making it too easy, and at least in the normal modes on some of them. And I don't think that's the right approach. That should still be a challenge even for people that don't play as much.
Indeed. What do you think that they can do in the future, perhaps, to cater to everybody? Do you think they should revert back to what they were doing with vanilla and, I think, TBC, considered by many to be the golden age of raiding? I think they should simply go back to that and just say, hey, like it or lump it?
Well, it depends. I think the approach that they did to Sunwell was quite decent, that they really that it was really hard in the start, and then when 3.0 came, basically everyone could see it because it got really simple compared to what it was before. I think that was a good approach, and also in Black Temple I think they did somewhat of the same, just nerfing it and taking away the attunements so everyone could see it. I think that's a lot better, because then you also have a clear progression line of how to kill the bosses and in what order, and not just having the hard modes and you have to decide yourself and you're not really sure what to do and how to do it and when to do it, so to say. That's a bit of annoying, because you don't have a clear goal in front of you. You just have like this whole thing, the whole complex, and you have to, you don't really know how to get there in the end. That's annoying, I think.
Of course. And one final question before we end this particular interview today, and I'd like to thank you very much for coming on today. It's been great. One final question is this: what would you hope to see from Blizzard's next attempt at introducing raid content into the game?
That's a hard question. I'd actually like to see something that can really stop us for a really long time, and is really like the perfect thing. I think I personally am still a really fanboy of the level 60 for Horseman encounter. That was like the best fight I've ever done, and if they were able to make something like that ever again, it would be the absolutely top thing to do again. It was amazing to do it at level 60.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming on to the show today. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout-out to before we end?
Just to the whole guild, so no one whines, I guess.
Blanket shout-out, there you go. Thank you very much indeed, Agaroth from The Legacy. Thanks ever so much for coming on the show today.
Yep, anytime, no problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I will be right back after this. Enjoy. You are listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com. Yes, indeed, folks. Looks like the internet is not cooperating today, I'm afraid. There's obviously too much epic coming through the tubes. Yes, I did just say it! Never get tired of that one. I will attempt to continue doing the show. Trust me, the archive will work as intended. If I do get disconnected, please don't panic. Please don't call the fire department and or police. Or the ambulance. It won't help. Like I was saying before, some idiot sliced the main fibre optic backbone for this area a few nights ago when they were digging under the river. Not kidding. Building the second tying tunnel. And of course they now even won't accept responsibility for it. It's the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Like, good lord. Seems rather ironic that someone who slices through a backbone doesn't seem to have one of their own to admit their own mistakes. Right. Just a quick reminder to those who want to submit for the illusion of choice, it's themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. If you have a suggestion for the last topic of the show, you can email it to me and I may choose it. Possibly. Or I may give the illusion that I've chosen it. Whatever. I'm not done, folks. Lots more rants to go, I'm afraid. This is a ranty show. And I don't really apologise for that, because the worst thing, the thing which gets me more riled up in this game than anything else, is when I see a good thing ruined. For no apparent reason whatsoever. And the good thing in this case is Ulduar. Now, if you're not already in the IRC channel, you might want to be, because there's been some links posted there. IRC.MMOIRC.com, #WoW Radio, or click the chat button at the top of the screen on WCRadio.com. And go check out our chat room. And you can get links from our IRC representative. Now, there's an article on MMO Champion regarding the patch 3.1.2 Ulduar boss changes. There's a wide variety, let me put it that way. Now, the first one is, well, it's not really a first one. It's just a massive, great list of nerfs. Yeah? Seriously. Now, the nerfs are happening to the first 5 or 6 bosses, yeah? Ignis is nerfed. Razor Scale is nerfed. XT002 Deconstructor is nerfed. Iron Council is nerfed. Kolaghan is nerfed. And Oriya is nerfed. Now, other things have not really been nerfed. Well, some of them have. Mimiron's Proximity Mines got nerfed as well. General Vezax is still kind of the same, really. And Algernon got buffed. Now, here's the thing, right? I've seen more nerfs to this instance in the past 2 weeks than I've seen, like, nerfs to anything in a period of 2 or more months. And the amount of nerfs they have put in to this instance already is ridiculous. We talked about the nerfs to Emelon earlier. And I would imagine that my internet connection may have just gone down. Possibly. No, it seems to be going. It's okay. I'm getting the hamster going there. Feed it a little bit more cheese and get it running on that wheel. Or as I was saying to people on Vent earlier, I am shoveling a little bit more coal and building up a head of steam into my router to make sure that it doesn't die. Now, these are, like, really bad nerfs, and I'm going to take this as a prime example, yeah? This is the one that I'm most upset about, yeah? XT002 Deconstructor. Let me tell you a little bit of a story here. XT002 Deconstructor is the 4th boss in Ulduar, yeah? And it stands in the way of getting into the main Ulduar complex. It's right in front of the door, so it's like a gateway boss. And killing this boss, for us, was a challenge, because we killed him before all the nerfs, yeah? We spent like 2 full nights wiping, all consumables, all raid buffs, and we killed him. And when we did, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was one of those classic kills. You remember, a little while ago on the show, I was talking to you about classic kills. The kind of kill where it's like a knife edge, And it's like, oh my god, he's about to go in rage, oh my god, can we kill him? And people are like, yeah, go on, you know, kind of really getting all hyped up on Ven about it. And then finally we down him, it's like, yes! And the big roar of 25 nerds suddenly crying out in exultation, and then suddenly silenced, because something terrible has happened. Yeah, it was great, it was an awesome kill. And it was a good fight. Unfortunately, it's now not. It's been nerfed to the ground, baby. To the ground. The biggest problem I've got with it is the Tympanic Tantrum, which is an ability which, before nerf, did 120% damage to everyone in the raid over 12 seconds, which meant basically everyone had to be healed, has now been nerfed down to 8 seconds, meaning it only does 80% of your health over 8 seconds, which doesn't kill you at all. Now, this fight has received so many nerfs, it is just so upsetting. And the reason, and this was quote by Ghostcrawler, is we want as many people as possible to see the content. Revelation for you, Ghostcrawler, and everyone else over there in the raid design department, they can't, because you are nerfing it. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense, initially, but hear me out. They can't see the content because what you are doing is giving them a dumbed-down Playmobil version of the content. It's like saying, I would like everyone to play on my 360, but they can't afford one, so I'm going to buy them a VTech instead. It's terrible. They're not seeing the content as you envisioned it, like the proper content. It's not really content if you can face roll it. It's why we hated Nax, right? This is how you ruin Nax, okay? You ruined Nax by taking a initially great instance, which was challenging in every respect and had a number of very unique and innovative encounters, and making it so that it wasn't a challenge anymore. Yeah? Heigendance can't kill you. Used to be able to, used to kill you in one hit, can't do it anymore. Fail on Thaddeus, doesn't kill you. Fail on Globulus, doesn't kill you. Patchwork, let's nerf the enrage timer, make him hit less. It's like nerf, all the way through. Saffron, oh god, Saffron. How much more of a joke could Saffron possibly be? It used to be a resistance fight. You don't even need resistance gear anymore. It's a hilarious joke. And of course, you said, oh, we wanted to see people, to let people see this instance. Yeah, you know what? You know what they're seeing? Art assets. Art assets, that's it. Nothing else. They're not seeing the encounters the way they used to be. They're not experiencing the challenging content. It's not worthwhile. They're not seeing what Nax used to be. The sad thing about it is that everyone now thinks Nax was the worst instance ever because they've just been doing 6 months of face rolling in there. I used to have good memories of Nax, and they're now tarnished by that joke. And the same thing is happening to Ulduar. Now, you might say, oh, well, you've got the hard modes, but here's the thing, right? They're buffing the hard modes over and over again. Now, personally, to start with, I have a problem with them moving the goalposts while guilds are trying to kill it. It's stupid. I've got to buff the hard modes. Oh, sorry, you were doing that? You know, you were cooking in here? It's like someone walking into your house, like you're making some nice bacon. They go to your pot and they suddenly throw like a bunch more oil in the pan, and he's like, oh, well, what are you doing? He's like, oh, well, I thought it would be better this way. Oh, sorry, you were cooking? No, I'm sorry. Oh, not really, because I just made the changes. No, that's horrible. That's a problem in itself, but the biggest problem I've got is this, right? You've got a massive great gap now, and it's only widening. I mean, the buff to XT is ridiculous on the hard mode. Have you seen what they've done? It's like he gains 150% health. Are you kidding me? So, I mean, I imagine this must be how it works. When you kill the heart, yeah, which activates the hard mode, he not only regains all of his health, but he gets an extra 50% on top of it? Really? Seriously? Is that what happens? Because that is just silly. I mean, they've buffed that twice already, and XT002 was already difficult on that. Now you might say, oh, well, TotalBiscuit, that's a hypocritical whine because you were asking for challenging content. Right, here's the thing, yeah? It's binary challenging. You've got a choice, right? Your average run-of-the-mill guild, yeah? I'm in an average run-of-the-mill guild right now. We're pretty good, but we're not great. We could use a lot of work. We're a bit rusty, we've got a lot of new players in there, and we're not doing as well as we could be, but we're progressing slowly but steadily, with determination, vigilance, and eventually focus. And we kill bosses, and we're getting through at a reasonable pace. There are a lot of guilds like us, an awful lot of guilds. Indeed, that is the majority of raiding guilds. Yep, there are two minorities when it comes to raiding guilds, yeah? There is the bleeding edge hardcore, and on the other end, there are the scrubs. Yeah, the raiding guilds who are so totally hopeless, they were the same guys who were wiping on the snake boss and all grew up for 3 months, before decent players like myself went in and told them how to do it. Those are the guilds, yeah? Those are the really bad guilds. The problem is, yeah, by nerfing the normal modes, those are the guilds you are catering to. Those guys, the minority. And it's funny, because before this you were saying you didn't want to cater to the minority, you wanted to cater to the majority, the silent majority. Let me tell you this, the silent majority are pretty good at the game, eh? The silent majority, the guys who aren't whining on the forums every 5 minutes, crying everywhere, and demanding nerfs left, right and centre, and saying, oh, well, I deserve the content too, because I pay my $15 a month. Those are the minority. We are the majority. I might not be the silent majority, I tell you that, I am nothing but. But there are people in game, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of raiders that are the silent majority, that are just trying to progress through. Yeah, and they want a challenge. And they're not good enough yet, or they don't have the gear yet to do the hard modes. Now, by making the hard modes harder and the easy modes easier, you are making it harder for those guilds to get into the challenging content. You're giving them two choices. Either they pick the easy-ass content that they can face roll through with their eyes closed and both hands tied behind their back, or they try the hard modes, which they can't beat in a million years, because they don't have the DPS. As you heard earlier, a lot of the hard modes are DPS checks. They're gear checks. They're about putting out obscene amounts of healing and damage. How do you do it? Oh, you do that by getting gear. It's a gear check. It's horrendous. It's a massive problem. You're catering to this tiny minority of terrible players. And why? Why ruin your own content? You are blasting your own great raid instance into oblivion for the sake of a few people who probably couldn't even get themselves out of bed in the morning under their own power. Let alone do anything worthwhile in society. These people are idiots. Why cater to them? They are the minority of your paying player base. We are the majority. We are the majority of the paying player base. And we deserve some challenging content. And it was. It was well-tuned. It was difficult and well-tuned. It was challenging and well-tuned for your average raiding guild. It is going to make it even harder, because making the jump, yeah? This is something that TBC had a problem with. Making the jump between heroics and raiding in TBC was hard. That is what Blizzard themselves claimed, and they said they never wanted to repeat that. Yeah? But now what they've done is they've gone entirely in the other direction. They've gone to extremes again. And I can't understand this. I don't know what they're thinking with this. It's like you had 6 months of face-rollable content, which made guilds fat, pudgy, flaccid, and terrible. And then you released a well-tuned instance that was a wake-up call, yeah? It was the personal trainer that comes into your room at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're lying there in a pool of your own Cheeto dust and cans of Coca-Cola, and he says, "Oi, fatso, wake up, there's work to do." And he punches you repeatedly until you finally get out of bed. And he says, "Right, we're gonna go run the block around." And say, "I don't want it, you do it, or I will hit you with this." And he gets out this huge 2x4 with nails in it from this bag, which is inexplicably small. And he gets it out and he beats you around the head with it until you start running around that block. And you keep doing it, and you know what? It's for your own good. And you get better that way. You don't get better by saying, "Oh, it's okay to have that piece of cake." Yes, I am making a fat analogy. How inappropriate on a WoW radio show. It's not okay to have that piece of cake at all. And it's not okay to do this crappy little nerfed boss. It's like, oh, you achieved something. You beat the nerfed after the nerfed after the nerfed after the nerfed boss. No, you didn't achieve jack. You were practicing on the boss. Oh, look, the boss has now got easier. We don't need to practice anymore. We don't need to be determined. We don't need to be focused. Because we know that Blizzard's just next week is going to nerf it. It's like the same problem you have with economic deflation. Yes, I'm bringing money into it now. Economic deflation. The same thing that happens, right? What happens when you have economic deflation? I'll tell you what happens when you have economic deflation. You don't buy. You do not buy goods, because you know they're going to be cheaper next week. Same difference. You don't go and wipe for a night on a boss because you know it's going to get nerfed next week. It's raid deflation. It deflates the morale of the player base. It deflates the morale of raiding guilds. And it deflates their determination and their drive to succeed. Because the attitude that Blizzard's putting out there is, it's okay, we'll keep nerfing it until you can do it. No point working yourself, we'll do all the legwork for you. Raiding is only fun when it's a challenge, otherwise it's a 4-hour waste of time, which you should have learned after the last 6 months of seeing people complain about Nax. I didn't want to go to Nax raids because it was a 4-hour waste of time. It was mind-numbingly boring. And you know what? The average guild still, and indeed every guild, still has to do those bosses on a weekly basis. And Scrubs, of course, ask, well, why does it affect you? Because you've already beaten it. Because we have to kill them on a weekly basis. And I'd rather not face roll through 3 hours of content to get to something that's hard. I'd rather do something that was challenging all the way through. It keeps me focused, it keeps me alert, it keeps me entertained. And that is important. That is vitally important. That I be entertained, because that's what I pay my money for. So what I would say to Blizzard is simply this. Will you stop nerfing your raid instance? Will you stop pissing on your own legacy? Because I love Ulduar and I don't want to see it ruined. Quit it! You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I will be right back after this with some very special secret news and the illusion of choice. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. Music was removed due to copyright concerns. If you'd like to hear the music, tune in live on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That is 3 p.m. EST on WCRadio.com.
Let's face it, everywhere you go, you see adverts for Ventrilo server providers. With so many to choose from, how do you make the decision about which is right for you and your guild? To help you with the decision, we brought in WoW Radio's very own bleeding-edge hardcore raiders to show you which provider the world's top players trust.
Loot the stupid car hound!
No. Tank it over there. You're setting the raid on fire.
Someone pulled ads, guys!
Oh, for God's sakes! Heal the tank! Heal the tank!
Hey guys, it's okay to DI the tank, right?
Why are you smiting and not healing?
Is that a halibut? Are you DPSing with a halibut?
Leave George alone! You'll hurt his feelings!
You named that halibut?
Guys, I think we're wiping.
What gave you that idea?
Well, we're all standing in the graveyard arguing. UGT Ventrilo servers, the only choice for the elite of the elite. Hi, I'm TotalBiscuit, the best and sexiest mage on the planet. When you're like me, you don't have downtime between raids and promotional photo shoots. That's why I use UGT Ventrilo servers. I don't have to get my hands dirty trying to fix a broken server because it was never broken to begin with. UGT servers provide crystal clear voice communication with excellent hands-on support to make sure your server is always up and running. Not only that, their prices are so low, I was able to use the extra money to buy this £32 salmon. What, you didn't think I was going to be outdone by Dustin, did you? Hey guys, want to run some BRD? Get your premium quality Ventrilo server from UGTservers.com. Be the best. Well, second best.
Yes, indeed, folks. You're tuning to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. It's been a particularly ranty show today. I love it. I love it so much. You have no idea how much I love doing this show right now. It's wonderful, and you guys are fantastic, so thank you for listening. It's great. Right. Time for the illusion of choice! But before that, I have a very special announcement to make, yes indeed. You may remember a competition that we have hosted over the last couple of years. It goes by the name of WoW Idol, and guess what, folks? WoW Idol will be relaunching tomorrow, yes indeed, we'll be opening it up again. WoW Idol 2009, with all manner of cool prizes and stuff. Seriously, we've got so many cool prizes we can't even announce them all yet. It's going to be some great stuff. We're going to try and use some of that advertising money that you guys have given us. So thanks for that. Thanks to those who've clicked on ads and supported our site at WCRadio.com with our new Google ads and got UGT Ventrilo servers and all that kind of stuff and donated to the station. Well, we're going to give some of that back. Make sure that we get some great prizes. We've already got some great stuff lined up. And we're going to get some even more. Trust me, we're going to get some amazing things. So yeah, WoW Idol, your opportunity to show off your singing and musical talents. It'll be announced tomorrow on the site, so check out WCRadio.com tomorrow for the full list of rules and specifications. Oh yeah, and it'll be all over the place. It'll be on WorldOfWarcraft.com's front page and all that good stuff. So yeah, you will hear about this, and it'll be running for quite some time. So yeah, you'll get the chance to get involved in that. We had some great entries last year. I'm sure we'll get some even better entries this time around. And speaking of, I decided to write you guys a very special song, and that's going to be coming up at the end of this show. Yes, indeed. TotalBiscuit Records, as it were. Very special song coming up. Right, now that that's out of the way, time for the illusion of choice. On a couple of interesting potential topics here. Yeah, I like this one. We could do that. Let's do that. From Samuel Ulen, also known as Disruptions, the level 70 priest, leveling on Dark Sorrow EU. Hey there, TB. My idea for the illusion of choice is this. Since you are talking a lot about the big guys and the small guys, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on how you would separate the pros from the noobs. I know you have talked a lot about hard modes and such, but it would be fun to hear how you want it to be. You should cover both the PvE aspect of the game and the PvP, but since I think PvE is the real aspect of the game, ooh, controversial, that would be most interesting. Right. There's a few ideas, yeah, and it's good that I'm actually getting the opportunity. Yes, I didn't deliberately pick this email just because I wanted to put some suggestions out Blizzard's way. Oh, no ulterior motives. Right, here's the thing, right? There are some parts of Ulduar that do this really well, and they are the non-binary hard modes. Now, what do I mean by that? That is a hard mode that can be done in more than one way. Yeah? Here's the difference, right? Sartharian 3 Drakes, that was a non-binary hard mode. Basically, you could do it with no Drakes, 1 Drake, 2 Drake, or 3 Drake. And the difficulty increases exponentially when you do that. Flame Leviathan. Brilliant model for future hard modes. Yeah, it's a non-binary hard mode. You can do it in 5 different ways. No towers, 1 tower, 2 tower, 3 tower, 4 tower. And not only that, but you can vary the combination of towers to your liking. It's a customizable difficulty that is very easy to start with and quite challenging with all towers up. Now, XT002 is the example of a binary hard mode, and this is where Ulduar fails. Yeah? And this is what links in with what I was saying earlier, with the issues you have with hard modes being too hard and easy modes being too easy. You've got 2 choices. Either you kill it with the heart, or you don't. Yeah? If you leave the heart alive, you have a face-rollable boss. If you kill the heart, you have a boss which is going to kill you hard in the face multiple times. You know, I made a joke about your mum and my XT32 pummeler. Yeah, that's what's going to happen to you. So bend over. Now, what needs to happen to separate the pros from the noobs, as it were? There doesn't need to be a separation of pros from noobs, right? Catering to the noobs is, in my opinion, pointless, because all they're going to do is demand more and more and more concessions until your content becomes so easy that people don't want to play it anymore. Nax drove me to play Eve. That's how terrible it was. I threw myself in, from the frying pan into the fire of the most hardcore, evil, bloodthirsty, ruthless, no safety net MMO that I could, just as an antidote to Naxxramas. Yeah? And I'm actually still playing EVE Online to this day. It's fortunate that I can afford to run 2 MMOs, because if I hadn't, I might have considered just leaving WoW entirely to play EVE, because I know for a fact that EVE is always going to provide me a challenge, and it's going to provide me with a dynamic universe. And I think that's a bit of a risky thing to do, because there are a lot of people like me that are looking for a challenge in their gaming. I think the normal adult response to play games, certainly of males, definitely. Males who want a bit of competition, they want a bit of challenge. That's what they're looking for when they come home from work. They're not looking for an experience that they can just go fishing for 5 hours or whatever. Some people do, but I'd say that most competitive males around my age are looking for a challenge. So I don't think you have to separate them at all. What you do need to do is cater to the majority. And the majority are not the scrubs. The majority are the average raiders. And how you do it, and how you cater to everyone, is simply this. You make everything, and I mean everything in Ulduar, a non-binary hard mode. That means the bosses, including Ignis, including Razor Scale, and that one other boss that doesn't have a hard mode, whichever one that is, I think it's probably Calagon or something like that. You make every single one of those have non-binary hard modes, where you have multiple levels of difficulty that can be chosen optionally. Not only do you allow people to then work up in a very obvious, linear fashion to the hardest mode imaginable and get better loot in increments, but you also give everybody the opportunity to experience the content in one way or another. Now, that doesn't mean nerf all of your normal modes into the ground. Leave them as they are. Because, let's face it, if the guys can't kill them in the way that they are now, they're never going to manage the hard modes anyway. These are the scrubs. These are the guys that suck. These are the guys that still wipe in knacks, for God's sake. They are absolutely the chaff that needs to be separated from the wheat. Now, the way you get rid of those people is to simply make an instance that's challenging, and it's fight or flight. Either they beat it, and they have the determination to do so, or they just don't do the raid. And are they going to quit? No. Where are they going to go? Which other MMO are they going to play that's easier and more accessible? They won't find one. They just won't. It's as simple as that. Don't worry. I know. I tried. I looked. Yeah. There's plenty of other MMOs out there, but there's none as accessible as WoW. Not by a long shot. They're going to stick around. They'll probably whine. They'll probably complain. But we made this argument in a previous show. Happy money, same as sad money. Same as angry money, same as unhappy money. It's all the same. It doesn't matter. So yeah, everything needs to have a non-binary hard mode. Absolutely everything. There is no excuse for nerfing optional bosses in Ulduar. What I'd like to see is some hard modes for those optional bosses. Because what you're doing is you are ensuring that those guys who have to kill the optional bosses, and that's a little bit of a contradiction, of course, have to kill the optional bosses. But of course, the guild leader's going to say, yes, go kill the optional bosses, because we can kill them and there's loot to be had. They're going to have a less enjoyable experience. And that is vitally important. It is vitally important that they have an enjoyable experience killing every boss in there. It should always be challenging. Now, if they eventually master it, then they should have a hard mode to go onto. Preferably more than one. They should be able to build up gradually, just like they can with Flame Leviathan, just like they could with Sartharian 3 Drakes. The binary hard modes do not allow for that. The binary hard modes are the worst, because those with the binary hard modes are the ones that are getting nerfed the hardest. You can see the evidence right there. Look at XT002. Look what's happened to him. He's been nerfed harder than any other boss in there, and he has a binary hard mode. Yep, the gap between easy mode and hard mode is now massive. So in that situation, you can't separate the noobs from the pros. Like this guy is asking, how would I do it? I wouldn't nerf that stuff to begin with. That's not separating the noobs from the pros. That's separating the absolute pros from the average majority. That's not what you want to do. That's not what you want to do at all. You don't want to alienate the majority of people who are pretty good but not amazing. That's the majority of raiders. We know about 50% of the WoW population is level 80. We know that a good portion of them, I think 50 to 60% of those raid in some form or another. We knew that back in TBC, when there was only about 10 million players, there was about 4 million who had raided, according to various sites. The raiding average is the majority of players. At least the majority of players that are interested in seeing new content. The people who are leveling up, they don't need new content. You don't need to cater to them. There's already loads of stuff for them to do. So in reality, this is the base you're looking to cater to. This is the base you don't want to alienate. So yeah, that's my opinions on that, folks. I got some shoutouts to do, so if you want some shoutouts, you can email the Murloc@gmail.com. That is the Murloc@gmail.com. You can also tweet me on twitter.com/TotalBiscuit or send me a PM on IRC. I'm on QuakeNet, I'm on Freenode, and I'm on MMO IRC. I'm all over the place. I'm omnipresent, like Skynet. The first shoutout has to go out to my wife, who, it's difficult to stomach this, right? As a male and as a competitive raider, it is difficult to stomach not only that my wife is in Death and Taxes, but also in Insidia. She's in 2 of the best guilds in the world. Not content to be in one of them, got to be in 2. Just got to prove that you, my husband, suck. Oh dear. Shout out to that, and shout out to, of course, Insidia for downloading Mimir on hard mode, and their website, Insidia.com, which is now becoming a premier source for news and information, because Jen's writing most of it. Yeah, go check it out, guys, Insidia.com. It's becoming really a very nice alternative to getting news from. Right, let's read some other shout-outs. I had a shout-out going out to the Swag Show, of course, and Nick Hooker. We're hopefully going to be doing a song in a couple of weeks, and it will be awesome, trust me. It's going to be fantastic. A shout out to my friends Zanza and Aniv, and myself, Git. Git? What? And also to our 3v3 Apple Cinnamon. What? You guys have the worst names. A shout out to Aragus of Emerald Dream US for listening for the first time live. That's That's from Shinoda. A shout out to my new guild, the Wanderers, for killing Ulduar bosses pre-nerf. It should be a feat of strength. Yeah, you're right, it should. A shout out to Mitz for being wonderful. That's from Mr. Quillip. A shout out to my brother Brad Gardner for winning the contest last week. Yes, indeed. He will be receiving a copy of that exclusive book. Oh, yeah. A shout out to Kungan for offering to re-roll female Tauren if we killed Mimiron last night. Too bad we didn't. That's from Ayu. Well, I don't know. You could, but you should actually do this. This is something I've suggested. The best way to grief him: get his account details, right, and pay for a character customization, and he can wake up with a brand new stonking female Tauren with a beard, preferably. Oh dear. A shout out to my new epic guild, the only Arcanist belt on Anacreonus EU. You guys rock. Love TB. That's from Zinky. Scary fanboys. Yeah, Arcanist belt will be going, by the way. Incidentally, those interested in joining Arcanist belt, you can do that. Just send me an email to themurloc@gmail.com if you're interested in joining our pre-TBC raiding guild. We will be raiding again in a couple of months, so on hiatus due to Ulduar, as you might expect, so plenty of time to level up. Can I get a shout out to all healers out there? I'm tired of waiting for one, so I'm leveling my own. Yeah, proactive. Level 56 ATM and going strong. That's from Seath. A shout out to Duncorp, the EVE Online in general, for being awesome. That's from Deanta. And shout out to my guild Conspiracy on Twisting Beather. What's that? Twisting Beather. For letting me go on sit out so I can listen to the show. It's from Dayster. That is irresponsible, man. A shout out to the word Scrubstitute for its 10-man usefulness. That's from Te Elite Hacksaw. And a shout out to getting exalted with Kalawak last week. And now with Underwater Swimming Man, so I can take my Blizzard Bear under the sea. Under the sea. There'll be no accusations, just friendly crustaceans under the sea. That was impromptu and quite inappropriate. A shout out to Palin FTW on Kel'Thuzad for leveling too fast, and a shout out to Tichondrius for dying 225 times up to level 40. Level fast and noob. It's from Maklov on Kel'Thuzad. A shout out to Warstomper, who shouted out to me earlier in an earlier show as my arch nemesis. It's from Disruptions. And a big shout out to the guild Dark Rage on Doomhammer EU. And grats to our priest Kazan for getting our first fragment of Valnir. That's from Ragavali. Ladies and gentlemen, I am done. Oh yeah. I've got one last thing for you to do. I've got a song, a special song that I wrote for you this week. It goes to the tune of a track you should be quite familiar with, so I don't really feel the need to tell you. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for listening to the show today. Check out the rest of our fine shows on WCRadio.com. Next show coming up will, of course, be the WoW Things Considered at 7 p.m. EST. That's midnight GMT, only on WCRadio.com. Feel free to rate and review us using iTunes, and if you do like what we're doing here, we've got our banners and we certainly have a donate link. It's very much appreciated. It's costly to run this website, folks. Not as costly as Curse, but pretty costly. My name's been TotalBiscuit. This has been Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. Good night. This is a story about leveling and the trials and tribulations that come with it. Here we go. Today is gonna be the day that I'm gonna question winter spring. Oh, I hate being level 58, but today's the day I'm gonna ding. Oh, and if you think that anybody is getting in my way, you would be wrong. Oh great, a winterfall crate, I can have that in for EXP. Oh what's that, a hunter and a cat, I can see you have your eyes on me. But I don't believe you really think that you can take me down in 20 greens. And all the traps you carefully laid are pointless. When all the shots you fire at me, they all miss. It's obvious that you would like to pony PvP, but you don't know how. Well, said thank you. I'm gonna be the one that ganks you. Oh, I'll have a ball. Falling winter fall.
right, there's gonna be a fight when your guild has come to help you out. But wait, my friend's a DK and he'll kill you all without a doubt. Oh, I didn't believe that anyone could be as lame as you. You proved me wrong. And all your friends you brought along are dead now. I'd recommend you go and uninstall WoW. There are many insults that I could say to you, but you don't speak strong. I said thank you. We're gonna be the ones that gank you. We'll have a ball, a foamy winter fall. I've almost filled up my XP bar. That's quite a haul from the winter fall. I said thank you. I'm gonna be the one that ganks you. Be the one that ganks you. We're gonna be the ones that gank you.
You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz, a show that airs exclusively on WCRadio.com on Fridays at 8 p.m. British Standard Time. That's 3 p.m. EST. You can check out our archives on our website at WCRadio.com and subscribe to our RSS feed. Don't forget to rate and review us using iTunes, and if you wish to leave constructive